episode number 56 with Steve and Mike. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
And I am coming to you from Vegas. And Mike, you're down in Oceanside?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sunny Las Vegas?
Yes, sunny, but
what's
still...
the temperature this time of year there?
Oh, it's freaking cold. It's I've heard like 8 people say in the last 4 days that it's colder here in Vegas than it is in Ohio. So it's pretty cold. I mean, in the casinos, I'm wearing a sweater, which I don't normally do. I think, most of the poker rooms that I've been in, at least, are by the outside doors. So every time someone opens the door, it just gets freezing. But yeah, walking out to your car, I think in the middle, it's definitely getting down below freezing because there's like ice on the sidewalks from the sprinklers, and during the day, I think the highs are like mid 40s. So it's pretty chilly. It's pretty chilly.
Who do we have as a guest today, Steve?
We have Mike Snyderman.
Oh, Christ. It's just me and you?
Yes. Just you and
I got to go get myself a shot of whiskey before we get started with this.
Amaretto, no?
That's all they had in, the Civil War, the doctors. That's all they had. Before they chopped the limb off, all they gave you is one shot of whiskey. They even had ration the crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
No, I'm kidding. So Vegas, is this a family tradition? Is this where you all meet? Is this were your parents there? Or?
Pretty much for Christmas every year we meet out here in Vegas. My folks just left today. My aunt and my cousin left today. We're recording this a little bit early. This is the 29th. We had a good Christmas. We all got together and had fun. Everyone took off except for me today. I went out and I did the Elliot Rowe webinar, and then I went out and played more cards today. And tomorrow I'm going to play one more tournament, and then I'm going to head home on the 31st.
Where's the wife?
She's in Colombia. So she was down there with her family for Christmas, and we learned something, being newlyweds. I don't like being apart for the holidays. Last Christmas we were together, and this year she went down there for Christmas, and I stayed up here, and I don't think we're going to do that again. I really miss her. We're going to make sure that from now on we stay together for the holidays.
Oh, okay. I wasn't prepared for such a rare glimpse of the Barton soul there. I thought in Sin City, nonetheless.
Well, the only reason I come to Vegas is to visit my family or to play cards, and pretty much in that order. So, for me, this isn't necessarily a party town. It's a place to play.
Did Mrs. Barton, I've been meaning to ask you, did your mom, has she been staying up with the podcast? Did she hear the episode where we found out about Steve, Swinger Steve?
Yes, she did. Yeah, we talked about that actually.
Did you tell her that Mike demands that we'll be addressing the situation in more detail as we go forward? I'm sorry, Steve.
She told me, she said, honey, you really need to delete that episode. And I said, Mom, I can't. I said, it's too late. It's out there. It's on the airwaves. And besides that, we've gotten more comments and positive feedback from that one episode than we have from all the others put together. She's all, really? And I said, yep, it's true. It's true.
She should be proud of her successful, virile scoundrel of a son.
That was a pretty fun episode. I was a little nervous when I was putting it out. I'm like, oh man, I am just completely opening myself up to anything here. But man, I've gotten more emails and tweets and texts from just random, listeners of the podcast. And I'm like, okay, well maybe it was a good thing.
No, that shit was fascinating. It was so unexpected. We all learned something about you there too.
Yes.
Well, it's funny because I was following Carlos on Twitch tonight, and he's like, Mike, glad you're here. He's like, I'm catching up in the episode. Just want to let you know that the episode where Steve with the PUA stuff, it made my day.
That's awesome.
He's like, you got to get more of that. I said, at some point, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and we're going to go into like detail, like every detail of how to get a threesome going. And I don't care if it's like Barton strapped to a chair, 17-hour interview. I said, we need to know how to get this shit done.
If you guys are listening and you haven't heard it, it's episode 51. It's titled How to Get a Woman's Phone Number in 30 Seconds. So if you're single, that's probably the one to start with.
So I'd rather do it the easy way than the hard way, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not have to hire a couple brutes, that Oxnard, to, shake you upside down and get all your secrets. But at some point, I don't know.
It's going to happen.
I'm actually, that's funny. You're recording, you're in your brother's bedroom, and I'm in my bedroom with my son sleeping just a few feet away. He's a heavy sleeper.
Okay, good.
So, I feel silly asking questions like, so Steve, how hard did you spank her, kind of stuff, just in case a few of these things seep into his dreams somehow.
Yeah, seep into his subconscious somehow.
So I'm trying to think what else is. It's funny. Last week I didn't even mention on the podcast. I had a car accident. I showed you the pictures. Pretty severe. Sort of. Yeah. Today I had my neck adjusted. You ever done that before? That's kind of freaky. All that click, 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 click.
With the chiropractor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I've done that.
What was the other thing I was going to? It's funny. I'm just listening to last week's episode, and it's like anytime. I mean, as we've talked about before here, it's obviously my relationship with poker, somewhat of my emotional health. It's not a great idea. But anytime you can tell I'm building confidence, it just crashes. Like last week, I'm like, I finally figured this cash game thing out. Do I need to tell you what this week was like?
Ooh, how bad was it?
No, I just had one killer session where I lost 5,600. And it was just old school, like tilt early. I mean, again, taking... whatever, I won't even say bet, but I was down like 3,000, and I wrote about it on my blog, Bless You Kanish. But basically, just one of those, just entitlement tilt. I three bet, called it off on the turn with the nut flush draw. And I had like 3,100 to start the hand at 5-10. First of all, I jumped to a shorthanded 5-10 game at 3:30 in the morning, just hoping to get even. It's kind of just like going to a roulette table to put it on black,
Yeah.
With top pros. But anyways, this isn't a bad beating story exactly, but I got it in with the nut flush draw and didn't get there, where people have been ignoring the math of poker and calling in my exact same situation and getting there against me. But so anyways, I told myself I'm going to give myself a 2-month. I either have to make $15K in online tournament profits, or I have to wait 2 months before I return. That's my punishment for making such bad decisions that day.
You know what? That sounds pretty good. I went through Elliot and Trisha Cardner's setting poker goals for 2016, and that's one of the things they talked about. They said, like, if you have a goal, put some kind of reward out for yourself if you accomplish it, and put out some kind of punishment for yourself if you don't. And they said, so like if you or if your goal is to play 40 hours a week and you only play 35 that week, then your punishment is you have to donate $100 to a charity that you really hate. Like maybe to the presidential candidate that you do not want to win. Like, right. So that will like motivate you on Sunday night when you're thinking, you're like, oh my God, I got to put in another 2 hours or I'm going to have to donate to Hillary Clinton.
I can't possibly have to donate to Carlos's Twitch channel. That's all I need to know.
Yes.
I'd rather carve my eyes out with an oyster fork. Actually, yeah, I'm sorry. I jumped right over Elliot. I wanted to hear. I know you were excited about that. I wanted to hear how that went.
Yeah, no, it went good. It was really really informative. It made me kind of put together some things that I want to get going for 2016. And first and foremost is get an editor for the podcast. I love getting on here and talking, and I love, having our own podcast, and I love having, the website and, affiliates and like that. But one thing I do not enjoy is editing the podcast and editing out background noise and all that stuff. You've
heard my and maybe a few listeners can hit us up, let us know if they. But like, my opinion, just either Skype or Twitch it live, but just record it so people can download it later, and that way we can even take live calls or whatever.
Yeah, I would like that.
If it's us being a little incoherent, well, we're kind of used to that, and if it's, I don't think. But anyways, that's just my opinion.
No, I like that a lot.
But
I think
I
if
know
we do that, we're going to have to be consistent, though, and we're going to have to do it like every Monday night at 8:00 Pacific or whatever. You know what I mean? That way people know that.
Well, that's probably hard for both of us, but the majority of people will still be getting it through iTunes or whatever, or YouTube, kind of downloaded from there or whatever. But some people will want to do it live. Yeah, sure, I think that'll enhance the experience for many. But anyways, something we can talk about.
Yeah.
But I know you're particular about the sound and professional in a way that I'm not, so that's good.
Yeah, I want to get an editor. I want to continue doing the weekly podcast. I think that's fun, and it's good for guys to get it every week. And then, but my goal is by February, I want to have an editor, and I don't want to have to do it anymore because, just another part of my poker goals is I've been playing 10 hours a week, except for when we're moving over the last month and a half. But I haven't been studying like I should, and I haven't been coaching or getting coached like I should. And that time instead is going towards editing the podcast. And it kind of comes between like, well, do I want to coach and get coached and study, or do I want to play? And I'm like, well, I want to play. Okay, well, I got to edit the podcast too. So if I can get an editor, that's going to free up 4 or 5 hours a week that I can now put into, going over hand histories and talking with Doug and Mark and Aaron's talked about us getting together and talking hands, and I've been wanting to do that, but I just don't have the time, so that'll free that up quite a bit. So,
well, at least I know where I stand, Steve. Thank you.
You too, Mike. And so that'll free up a lot of that time. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to getting an editor, and then I can focus. Just kind of get on and talk shop for an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours if we go long, and then that's it. I'll email the thing over to the editor, and it'll be up on
right
iTunes on Monday morning, and that's it. No more stuff on the back end that I have to take care of. At least as far as editing goes.
Could be some argument with an editor who will erase some of our magic, Steve. That's what terrifies me. Just putting any amateur hands near this gold.
Well, I'll have to teach
Spielberg doesn't like shoot a film and just say, yeah, just get any guy off the street to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a long vetting process is all I'm saying. But
well, that's why I gave myself a month. I'm going to have to teach him, so we'll go through and we'll screen share, and I'll show him exactly how to introduce the theme song and then how exactly to put transitions in and stuff like that. But I'm confident I can teach him that pretty quick.
I think we should try at least somehow, at least one live podcast, however that is done exactly. I do not know, where it's just one and done. We do it. It's recorded. But I don't know. But again, you're the man in charge, so.
I want to do that too. I don't know how. I'd have to learn how to do it. Because I know there's guys that do it. They do like live streaming. I listen. Well, I used to until fantasy football's over for me now. Oh, I got second, by the way. Out of 24 guys, I pulled in second. Couldn't quite pull off the championship, but yeah, they do a lot of live things, and they do it on YouTube, and they have it all streaming at the same time, and then it's up and done, and that's it. And they're able to make a podcast out of it as well. So I don't know how that's done, but
it's probably not. It's probably not in the digital age very complicated. It's probably pushing a button, downloading a program and pushing a button on the screen. But
probably.
Yeah. How about congrats? I listened to Scott was really good, by the way, last week. I want to give him applaud myself for that choice. He's real smart.
He was, yeah.
With strategy, yeah, he's one of our better ones, I think, in that respect.
Had you ever thought about c-betting less into the big blind?
C-betting less into the big blind.
Into the big blind defend.
Oh, Yeah, I don't know. I think I still probably c-bet probably a little too much. I think I don't know, what does Mark tell you the target number is? I c-bet like 78%, I think.
No. I mean, um, when you
Specifically,
the amount. So, like, if you're normally c betting,
oh,
half pot, when it's into the big blind, instead you only go 35% or 40% of pot, just because he's defending so wide that you can probably take it down with the smaller size bet because they're folding so often.
yeah, probably a good idea. I definitely, from just, this is how I get my poker, my lack of personal studying and dedication here. I'm always getting everything secondhand, but just listening to you talk about bet sizing, I have kind of changed it and lowered my c-bet sizing from 45, 50% down to 35, 40%.
Okay.
So, yeah, it didn't occur to me to specifically against the big blind, you can drop it at least a little bit without people even noticing. I mean, if you're supposed to be balanced, again, I don't know how much you have to worry about that and how many people are going to notice. But yeah, that makes sense because that's always going to be the weakest range you're going against, again, in your opening. So
Yeah. Well, that was one of the most profound things that I got out of that podcast, was him saying that. And I was like,
right.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I've been experimenting with that out here in Vegas. I've been playing a bunch of live MTTs, and I think he's right. It works. So I'm going to do that more from now on.
It makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
How is the poker in Vegas going? How was the cash session today right before you came on this?
Oh, it was okay. I played for like an hour and a half and won $10. So nothing really. It was fun though. It was fun. It was a fun table, and there was a couple there from Germany, and man, there was this girl there, very very active, playing almost every single hand, and I had position on her, which was good, but yeah, she was really tough to play against. She was good. She was good. Her husband was, oh, I don't know if it was her husband. They didn't have wedding rings on, but they're both from Germany and they're out here on vacation. So boyfriend, whatever. He looked exactly like Teddy KGB. when I sat down, I'm like, is this John Malkovich? And I was kind of looking at him and I'm like, no, I don't think so. And then I heard his accent and I'm like, oh no, that's not him. And, but they started talking. I'm all, do you know who John Malkovich is? He's all, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm not the first person that's told you this. And he's like, no, actually you are. Everyone tells me I look like Chuck Norris. I'm like, what the hell? No, he looked like Teddy KGB. But that was fun. They were cool. But that session went all right. I played, I think, 6 tournaments so far. I've cashed in 3 of them. Gotten first, second, and third. Each tournament averages about 20, 25 wow. people. No buy-ins higher than $70. Just small little ones. I've been playing with my mom, and I've always had something to do every night. Like I had to come back for this podcast, and so tomorrow I'm going to play a bigger one, one that'll start at noon and probably not end until if I go the distance, midnight. Yeah, so it's been fun. I'm up I think $500-600, and I haven't tallied today's results yet. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I dig it. I really miss live poker.
Yeah, for sure. Although yeah, it's well, just quickly to go back to the Elliot webinar. So this was specifically in terms of kind of getting ready for 2016, sort of in terms of setting goals and specific strategies for achieving them.
Yeah, let's see.
That
I can go over my notes here. Let's see.
Well, you don't have to go on. I'm just curious. What else? Basically, I was going to segue into. I was going to ask if you're the sort of person who believes in New Year's resolutions, Steve, or because you are so. I think we had this conversation. I remember some woman told me that New Year's resolutions are for people who are too lazy to make personal change. Like if you have to wait, if you're pushing something off till so and so, it's just never going to happen for you. So she did not believe in them. I wonder if you're the same way.
I don't know about. I definitely believe in goals, and I really believe in
Right.
writing
No,
them
but I
down.
mean, you're constant. But I mean, like for people who are like, I mean, even me with like my diet, it's like, okay, it all starts in 6 days, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like if you want to change something, you probably roll up your sleeves and get right to work.
Yeah, I think so. Well, this is how I go about it when I want to change something. Is basically I start by writing it down, and so I'll write it down just like I did right before this podcast. I'm like, okay, what did I learn from this webinar, and what am I going to change after going through this class? One of them's in the podcast, get an editor, and the next one is with poker. I'm going to play 10 hours a week, study 2 hours a week, and coach 2 hours a week. And that's it, just by writing it down. Then what I do is every morning I read that when I wake up, and then every night I read it before I go to sleep. So you kind of start to slowly influence your subconscious. You know, if you just say that you're going to do it, but you never physically write it down or never review it and look at it, then it's, you know, your odds of success are pretty slim to none, you know, because you're not consistently reviewing
Sure.
it in your mind. You know, and that's a lot of what they were going over in this webinar, is they were just talking about, you know, writing your goals down, and then even more specifically than that, going to your calendar and planning out your month. Or I'm sorry, they said start by taking the whole year and writing down blocks of time where you're just not going to be available. If you have you know, a vacation that you go on every year in September, block that out. That's, you're not going to be doing work that week. If you know, Christmas time, like for me, it'll be my annual trip with my buddy, coming out here for the WSOP, and then Christmas time. That'll be, and then the trip with my wife. So it'll be the, you know, those sections will be blocked out. Then from there, you can kind of go, okay, each week we need to record a podcast. That'll be sometime there. You know, you just block out all those times. This is when I'm going to be physically at the fire station, so I can't do that. These are the days that I'm going to be playing poker. So you start, generally speaking, with the big time frames over the whole year, and then go month by month. So then for January, these are the days that I can play poker. These are the days that I'm going to help my wife with the Amazon eBay business. You know, these are the days that I'm going to be working. Then go to the next month and plan it out like that. And then for each day, what you do is when the night before the day is coming, you come up with a little list, and you come up with at least, this is what they're saying in the webinar that I learned today. For each day, come up with at least 3 things that you can do that will get you closer to your overall goal for the whole year. You know, so come up with 3 things. And they said, and I've heard this before, is do the thing that you don't want to do the most, do that first. So if you really hate working out, but you know exercising is good for you, well, then do it right when you wake up. Because if you don't do it right when you wake up, then you're probably not going to do it at 8 o'clock at night when you're tired and you don't feel like it. You know? Do the thing that you don't feel like doing the most. Do that first, get it out of the way, and then you'll at least feel good about completing it. And then you can go on with stuff that you do like doing. What are some other things that they said? They said make SMART goals. And I don't know if you've heard this before, but it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time sensitive, like time bound. So if you just make a goal, but you don't say that I want to do it, you know, within 2 months, then that goal will never get achieved because you didn't put like a deadline on it, you know? Another one too is make sure that you
just get angry and frustrated with yourself.
Exactly, yeah, because it never gets completed. Another one too is that put the goals in the affirmative, or in the positive. So like if you want to, what's a good example? Okay, if you want to increase your confidence when you're playing poker, you would write that goal as I am more confident each and every day as I play poker. But you would not write it as I am reducing my anxiety when I am playing poker. See, if you write it as I'm increasing my confidence, then that's what your subconscious is going to focus on. But if you say reduce anxiety, your subconscious doesn't hear reduce. All it hears is anxiety, and then it actually gets worse.
Right.
You know. Another thing they said is kind of keep your goals few. You know, don't make it more than 2 or 3.
Strip it down to the important stuff, and everything else will follow.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to write down 10 goals because none of them are going to get done well. And then you'll just get frustrated that you're not really making any progress. They like come down, with 1, 2, at the most 3. Because when you just start listing a whole shit ton of stuff, none of them's going to get done well. Like focus is one of their things.
On my list, I wrote maybe too many things because one of the things I wrote down was listen to Steve. So
that should be number 1 right there.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, like I have, like get fit, lower cholesterol. I mean, like there's health stuff. It needs to be on the list. So you might have to get bumped off, Steve, just till 2017 or 18.
Well, I've been patiently waiting a year, so right. I guess one more year isn't that bad, right?
I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you very
much. Let's see. What were some other things? Oh, forming habits. So like if you have a bad habit, if you're smoking, then if you want to quit smoking, when you have a hankering for a cigarette, create a new habit. So as soon as you start feeling like you want a cigarette, make a new habit of drinking half a liter of water.
Okay.
And form a new habit from it. If you feel like you want a cigarette, then do 5 push-ups, and that's form a new habit that's good in replace of the old habit that's bad. So if you wanted to quit smoking and you form a new habit of like eating a piece of candy or something, that's probably not the best thing for you.
Right.
Pick a better habit. Just replace the habit with something else.
Right. Okay, this is all good stuff. This is useful.
Yeah. I thought it was a really good, webinar. What are some other things? Oh, willpower. This is an interesting quote that I wrote down. It's, willpower isn't a skill; it's a muscle. You have to use it or you lose it. So, he's basically saying that willpower is having self-discipline, and it'll drive you forward. He said to consistently reevaluate your goals. So go through the goals that you set and make sure that you're on track. Another interesting thing that he said was that he said when you're where is the note on this? There it is. Achieving your goals. He said, make sure that your goals are difficult, but they're not impossible. And he said that you should have about a 10% probability of attaining your goal, which I thought was extremely low.
Yeah.
But I think basically what he was saying is that, you want to make it really difficult. And you want to make it so that you're aiming high. And I think his idea is that if you make it really, really tough to where it's possible that you could get it, but it's not likely. But at least if you aim high, even if you don't hit your mark, you're still going to attain probably more than had you made it like an average goal and, would get there 90% of the time. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I think the mindset change that you have to make is that you're going to fail at your goal probably 90% of the time, but you're going to get further in the long run than you would had you aimed a little bit lower.
Right.
So that was interesting.
I'm sure Elliot is obviously keenly aware that poker is kind of unique and that you can kind of do everything right, and because of variance, it can still be a rough year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of. Does he say anything about poker players in that regard? Like, create a passion that you can kind of control the results a little more. Anything along those lines?
No, he did
not
mention
feeling powerless and.
No, he did mention but having hobbies and a life outside of poker. He talked about balance for quite a while.
Okay.
And he mentioned, study and focus while you're playing poker, but take at least one day off a week where you're not doing anything related to poker. You and your wife go hiking, or, if you're single, you go do something that has nothing to do with poker, and it's a hobby outside of it that, is like music or whatever, something that has nothing to do with cards.
You and I are probably the opposite. We need to be a little unbalanced for a while. I mean, like I said, if you're
you're setting 2 hours a goal a week for studying, which really isn't that many. I mean, considering your schedule, maybe it is, but
I know.
I'm the same way. I don't do a lot of studying these days, so
I know. I need to study
yeah,
more. I really
use
do.
some of that free time now rather than decompressing from the poker stress to actually get better at poker.
Yeah, yeah. He mentioned tilting a little bit, which I thought was kind of interesting because it went right in line with his 7-minute tilt buster. He said, how did he put it? This is what I wrote down. I said, bad beats become more common the better I get. I'm consistently getting my money in good, so they have to get lucky to beat me. So it's good that I'm taking a lot of bad beats because they have to get lucky to beat me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a lovely way to look at it.
So if you're taking bad beats, it means that you're doing something right. It means that you're playing well. Because that means that the bad players are getting it in bad against you, and they're getting lucky to win.
Of course, bankroll management would help deal with the bad beats too. Something I'm not very good at. I mean, there's the idea that I played a pot with $6,400 in it, whatever it was, is just comical. But,
yeah.
Not to bring it back to me here, Steve.
No, he actually has an MP3 on that.
Just on bankroll management?
He does, yeah. He's got, maybe I can go through my little spiel here. Now that we're talking about Elliot Rowe,
we should put in a good word for TPE, our other friends here, Steve, when you get a chance.
Yes. If you guys are on the fence about Elliot Rowe and his MP3s, I personally don't play unless I listen to him first. My session that I had before the day, I actually listened to the free MP3 before I went in and played. He's got MP3s for online cash. He has 3 of those. He's got online MTTs. He has 4 of those, including one just for final tables. He's got live cash. He's got 3 of those. Live MTTs, including the final table focus one. He's got a mindset booster package for confidence, motivation, recovery, study, and increasing volume. He's got ones for spin and goes. He's got a post-game cool down to help you drift off to sleep and stop thinking about the session so you can, wake up refreshed. He has a leak buster package, so maybe this is the one you'd be interested in, Mike. He's got one for bankroll management, dealing with downswings, folding when you're beat, letting go of mistakes, dealing with poker anxiety. You guys can get his MP3s by just clicking on the link in the show notes. Or you can go to HeadsUpPoker.Poker and scroll down to the Elliot Rowe banner. If you enter in the coupon code HUPoker, you'll get 10% off of all those tapes. So if you're still not sold, you can get one for free. Just click on the link in the show notes that says free MP3, and you can download a 7-minute tilt buster tape. You can listen to it the next time before you play, and I guarantee that you will see, hear, and feel the difference. And after listening to this, when you get rivered on the money bubble of your favorite tournament, you'll start to feel that all too familiar feeling of your face getting hot and your blood starting to boil. And, you know the feeling just as well as we do that tilt is about to take over. Then you'll remember that the tape taught you that all you got to do is you got to take a deep breath in and let it out. And then you'll smile, because in that moment you're going to realize that the tape actually worked. And it's good that the bad players get lucky sometimes, because they have to get lucky to beat you. And if they didn't, they wouldn't play, and you and I could not make money at this wonderful game that we call poker. So you can check it out. Check it out for free. It works. I listened to one today just before I played.
Okay, Stevie, very good.
And let's see, what else did he teach me today as far as goals were concerned? Self-sabotage. I thought that was an interesting one. He talked about self-sabotage. He talked about procrastinating. He talked about throwing away your gains, lack of motivation, underachieving, feelings of guilt or anxiety around success. So maybe your parents don't like it that you play cards. Maybe they don't like it that you make money playing poker.
No, they don't.
So maybe you feel guilty about being successful about it. I don't know. I don't mean you specifically, Mike, but now that we're talking about this, maybe this applies to you. I don't know. doing the opposite of what you need to do to be happy, devaluing your achievements, self-medicating, maybe smoking weed or taking pills while you're playing. So I think some of these kind of apply to me too, because my wife's dad used to be a gambler, and he wasn't a professional. He played slot machines. And so, I think deep down on a level that I'll never understand, she doesn't really like it that I play cards, and I can show her my results and my spreadsheets for the last 8 years, and it's positive at the end of every year, but it still doesn't sink in that, that this is good, that I'm winning, maybe it's the same for your parents, Mike.
Yeah, Steve, I have issues. I mean, we can't really just gloss over anything. No, but it was when I left the casino the other day. It was similar to the gambling days where when you leave the casino after just blowing through however like every cent you have, the stress ends the second you leave the door. At least did for me. It's relief. Okay, thank God that's over. Your body's just tight. So I think, I lost the money. I'm like, okay, good. I can't return here for a few months.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know psychologically how you would describe that, but yeah, like afterwards, I'm like, okay, this has nothing to do with poker skill. Tonight was an emotional breakdown, essentially. So anyways, that doesn't happen to me playing online MTTs or live MTTs to a large extent, but I don't know, Steve.
But with the cash, it does?
I'm sorry?
But with the cash, it does? Cash games?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just the consequences of tilting at cash or so. I mean, especially if you're walking in there with money. I mean, you could, I guess technically you could be in a $200 tournament that's a rebuy and keep pressing, rebuy, shove, but that doesn't, I don't know, that doesn't happen. So, I don't know, just the bankroll swings have been much larger in cash than mine. And like I said, I'm not going to get into it, but like I said, I've run ridiculously bad for the most part there. And I have just pain and misery and anger associated with playing cash, but I don't know, whatever. I'm just not very good and do stupid things. But like I said, the problem was just from the beginning, bankroll management and game selection there. But there is a part of me that wants to fail probably. I don't know if that's low self-esteem or I don't know. On a certain level, I think it's a tough-minded assessment of poker. Just how hard it is. If I'm going to crash, why not now? Rather than 5 years from now. You know what I mean? So I can get on to the next thing. But I don't know. Right now, it's my best chance of paying my bills. In terms of New Year's resolution, I want to make $100K this year.
Well, you've probably come close to that this year, right?
I don't know. I'd have to look at my books. The cash game was, even after my Vegas summer, my live results were barely profitable, I'm sad to say, with just the cash. And like I said, I've bricked 19 straight tournaments since I've been back, and 18 before I went there, and blah, blah, blah. But I think I've managed my poker life pretty badly since I moved out to California, and I'm still on my feet. That's the good news.
Yeah.
I'm a much better player now. I'm much smarter now. Like I say, if I can just get some other shit in my life straightened out here, I think I'll be okay. But
yeah, I'm trying to think of what my success with the cash has been. Oh, I got to correct you on the. I'm trying to remember what episode it was. It was a couple episodes ago. You said that I was making $20 an hour at 1-2. It's $20 an hour at 2-3. A little bit different. You can make a fair amount stealing the blinds at that casino because they don't defend enough, and every time you steal, it's $5, and then they don't take a drop if there's no flop.
Okay,
so you can raise to 12 or 13 and pretty frequently steal $5 right there, and I think that's where a lot of my profit came from. But Anyhow, I don't know what it would be at 1-2. I don't know if you can make a profit there at 1-2 because the max buy-in is 100 and the rake is the same at 1-2 as it is at the 2-3. So I'm like, just does not seem like. I think a pro could probably break even there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I'm trying to. Oh, you know what? Brian, he wrote into the wrote in a question for review here.
Okay.
At Brian Taylor, he was in episode 23, a competitive eater, fan of the podcast. We brought him on, and it's very entertaining. So if you want to go back and listen to that one, he says, "Okay, Steve, let's see if you want to use this one instead." Okay, this is a Borgata deep stack, 20K guarantee. Buy-in is 230, so he's moving up in stakes since we had him on. That's good.
Yeah.
35K starting chips. Level 9, down to my last 11 big blinds with blinds at 1,500 and he's 75. Okay, so he must have 11,000. He's got 11 bigs. 8-handed. Okay, I am out of position, raise pocket queens 4K. So let's see, he raises that 4 bigs. He has 7K behind. He says out of position, so he doesn't really say what position he's in. I'm guessing early middle position. It then folds to either hijack or button who calls. Okay, so he raises to 4K. The either the hijack or the button, he can't remember. They call the 4K, so that leaves him 7 behind. With the blinds and antes, I'm going to say that there must be 9 or 10,000 in the pot, and he has 7 behind. The flop is Ace 9-2 Rainbow.
Well, let's go back to the pre-flop action here.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Well, the conventional wisdom is, 10 big blinds around that time. You're in a shove or fold mode.
Yeah.
So, I would probably shove here. Although there's merit in trying to. I mean, this is probably the sort of tournament where a lot of people just have no concept of stack size.
Yeah.
So they would fold to a shove, but if you want to, when you're, especially with such a good hand, you're not really afraid to go to a flop too. So there is some merit in just min raising, and someone will call and either fold or maybe call with crap. So I'm not saying he has to shove there, but certainly I was just going to say, it doesn't matter what the flop is. I'm going with queens, as much as you hate to see the ace come in, just looking ahead to the flop.
Yeah.
Because there's just, with 7,000 left, the pot is, you're going to be either left with 7 big blinds, or with the money in the pot, you could be back up to 17, 18 bigs or whatever it is. Or, if the other person puts all their money in. So, we'll have to see how he describes the action. Unless it's just like the biggest nit in the world who's played like one of 30 hands, who just, you can tell with absolute certainty loves the flop.
Yeah.
But basically, I was going to say, if you choose to play the hand that way, rather than shoving with only 11 bigs, I think you're kind of committed to getting them all in on the flop, was going to be my only statement, and I will let you continue or offer your opinion there.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, if you raise to 4x here, and then regardless of the flop, you got to go with it. I think ideally, though, at least the way I would play this with 11 bigs is at this point where I'm getting to 15 bigs, and I've had a lot of experience with this over the last 4 days because I've been playing a lot of low buy-in, basically turbo tournaments. The blind levels have been anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, and they go up pretty quick. And I've been exercising my 7 to 15 big blind stack skills for the last couple of days. And I found that, like, with 15 big blinds, if somebody limps or opens, you can reshove over that and have a decent amount of fold equity. And then once you get down to 12, 11, 10, 9 big blinds, you're pretty much just open shoving and hoping to take down the blind. So once you memorize that shove fold chart, you're already going to be shoving quite a bit here. When it folds to you and you've got 10 big blinds and you're in the hijack with ace 5 suited, you're shoving it. Well, when it folds to you in the hijack and you've got pocket queens, you're doing the same exact thing. And you're going to be fairly active in that, low big blind stack size that they're never going to know when you have queens and when you have, like king 9 off on the button. So if you're playing like that, I like shoving like right here with the queens. If you're not, then I might almost go for a min raise and then just see what they do. You may get like 4 callers, and if the flop comes down ace high or with a king in it, or if it comes ace king or whatever, well, then you have a decision. But I would kind of advocate more playing that small stack size as, either shove or fold. And 11 big blinds is right there. So I kind of like just an open shove. If not, then, if you're going to 4x it, then you got to go with any flop, especially heads up. But, yeah, that kind of jive with what you're thinking, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you've mentioned that several times, and I probably have just, it's worth saying again, though, like how important that shove fold stuff is for MTTs, whether it's live or online, to really know that shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Whenever I started getting serious about the game, whatever it was 4 years ago, I had those charts right in front of me. Now I feel like I kind of know them, or at least I'm close enough where I haven't used them in a few years. I probably should study them again. But they'll be an eye-opener for the casual player.
Oh, big time.
In his spot, not only is he shoving queens, he's shoving probably like king 7 suited, king 9 off, some connectors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
king 10 suited.
Surprised in these spots where it's like, wait a second, I'm supposed to reshove with queen 9 off here? You know what I
mean? And 9-10 suited, though, why would I do that? Wouldn't I call there, or wouldn't I raise fold? Or there's a whole bunch of hands that go in there that you would never think do.
And not just look at the charts, but understand the math and get someone who can explain it properly why these are considered game theory optimal.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, so he raises pocket queens to 4K, so he raises it to 4X, then folds to either hijack or button, who calls. The flop is ace 9-2 rainbow. The hijack guy, so the guy that called, is pretty aggressive pre-flop, and he has me covered with maybe 22 big blinds. I insta-shove. After the flop. He has me covered with maybe 22 big blinds. He thinks it over and calls, showing ace 10. Turn is a 10, river is a brick. As I'm ready to walk, the kid next to me, somewhat of a snot-nosed kid, asks, "Why didn't you just shove pre?" I replied, "That was pretty dumb question," and left. I sort of looked at my hand as a sort of a bluff with queens, even though I was ahead. When I did not improve on the flop, my gut reaction was drawing dead, and he had me beat. I figured by insta-shove he might be folding, thinking I had pocket aces, ace-queen, ace-king, or ace-jack.
Well, he's never folding an ace there, certainly.
No, I don't even think he's folding ace-2. I wouldn't.
The guy's terrible if he has ace-2 there. I mean, he doesn't, he should only have decent aces in his range, but...
Yeah. I ran this by a few other pros online, and responses were like, "Why didn't I min raise instead of 4x? I should have checked the flop, and then if he had bet or raised, I should fold. Hoping that you and Mike will have a better take on this. Thanks. Any other info, let me know." Okay. Yeah. If you're going to min raise, you have to be extremely comfortable playing after the flop, because it's very likely that you're going to get more than one caller, and you're going to have these tough decisions. And an ace is going to flop, and you're going to have to be able to tell with the 9 big blinds that you have left whether you're good or not. Because if you get your money in with queens and somebody else has an ace, you're drawing almost dead. So that's why I would advocate just shoving there in those spots, looking at those push-fold charts. You know what I'll do, Brian, is I'll throw a link of the push-fold charts into the show notes of this podcast, and you can go there and print them out and keep them in your car or your back pocket. So when you go on break, you can look and you can see, wow, okay, I had 9 big blinds. I was in the hijack and I had king 7 suited. Was that a shove? Oh no, king 8 suited was. Okay, now I know. And just reference it, and then you'll know from then on out, and that'll give you a baseline. So yeah, good question.
Right. Well, the 4X open, I think we both agree, is it was a peculiar move here. So that it's either shove or min raise.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would have just shoved, but as played, even I think even if you're committed to putting your chips in, which I think is probably right, maybe check to see if you can induce him to shove worse. I mean, maybe maybe he thinks you don't have an ace and you're terrified, and he shoves some pocket threes or whatever, or king high. You never know.
Yeah, that's a good point. If I like that.
If they're going to if you're going to put the chips in anyways, let him put him in there. Because if you shove, you're probably only getting called by better. You're probably getting called by nines, and he's like, well, he could have missed the flop. But if you give him the option maybe to tool out with some crappy hand, it becomes a little more profitable, I think. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. Then at that point, he might, if you check to him, he might bet Jack 10 or pocket tens or pocket jacks. Stuff that
shouldn't we, let's be honest here, shouldn't we be advising Brian to take up crochet or something? Does the man really have the wherewithal to deal with the stress of poker? It's kind of similar to me in that way, right? Shouldn't he be looking...
Well, he was a competitive eater, so I think he could deal with stress on a level that we don't know. Having to pile drive 50 hamburgers at a time, I don't know if I could do that.
I think he should be in a quiet room eating tofu, listening to Dionne Warwick music, anything but poker.
I've got a couple of hands here from the last couple days.
Okay, well, I think we got to tell people though, Steve. One of the next episodes we're going into the PUA stuff, right? You're down with that?
Going into what?
Going back to the PUA stuff, the pickup artist stuff.
Oh, the pickup artist stuff. Yeah, I'm in.
Because I got some questions.
Okay.
I mean, like real, from David D'Angelo to the orgies in Beverly Hills. We're not leaving anything out. But anyways.
Okay. All right, we're going all out.
But yes, but if you want to talk poker hand, that's fine too.
Okay. Save it for next episode. I'll take off the gloves. We'll go all out.
Mrs. Barton, you can take your hands off your ears. This is just poker talk now.
All right. Let's see. Okay, this was a little tournament I was playing with my mom. This was at it's either the Excalibur Luxor, I can't remember. Starting stacks are 5,000. The effective stacks are basically 5,000 blinds. Just went up to the second level. They're 5,100. So we've all basically got 50 big blinds. Middle position, he raises to 200. This is a guy, he's fairly neatly dressed. He's got a gray suit on, clean shaven. Doesn't look like the kind of guy that just came back from like some convention or something, he doesn't have the thing around, the little, badge on, he just looks like he's well dressed and he just likes to play poker. Hasn't played much. As far as many hands, he min raises to 200. He's going to be the villain in the hand. Another guy from late position calls. I'm on the button with Jack 10 off. What are you thinking here with effective stacks at 50 bigs? Are you calling this? Are you raising? What are you thinking? Are you folding?
I think all three options are pretty good.
Okay.
If it's early in the tournament and I haven't raised yet, I'd be tempted to 3-bet this hand.
Okay.
I've already raised or shown some aggression. I mean, I like it less. But and again, early we're deep, or semi-deep. So just the caveat that if I take a flop with this, I'm going to be playing it cautiously and looking for something better than one pair to get it in with.
Okay. Yeah, I had raised, but I hadn't 3-bet yet.
Okay.
So that's my history. That's my image. Early in these tournaments, I play pretty tight. I may call a small raise with a pocket pair trying to hit a set, stuff like that, but I don't start mixing it up until I get to like 25, 30 bigs. And then that's when I change gears, and they usually don't adjust to that until they realize that it's been too late and they're sitting there with 7 or 10 big blinds.
You probably will understand the player pool in these kinds of tournaments much better than I will, because I won't know.
Yeah.
I'm having a flashback, not to bring it back to myself, the one WSOP event we talked, it was like a 3K where it was like limp, and then I would 9X it, and then it would call.
Yeah.
I was just at a table. I'm like, this could have been a freaking $50 tournament in fucking Harris.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm tempted to say 3-bet, use your superior skill to play in position kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. But it's hard to get people to fold at these kind of tournaments, at least pre-flop. So
they want to see a flop. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I elect to call. I figured I didn't want to build too big of a pot, and I already had a caller to my right, so I didn't think I'd be able to get them both to fold. So I gave it a call. The big blind comes along as well. So we go to the flop. There's 900 in the pot. Starting stacks were effectively 5,000. Hero has Jack 10 offsuit. The flop is 10-7-3 rainbow with 1 heart, and I have the 10 hearts. The big blind checks, and the villain bets 600 into a 900. The guy to my right folds, and now it's on me.
Gotta love these 5K starting stacks, huh? If
yes.
It's fold here, you've already given up half your stack practically.
I know. What are you thinking here?
Well, you can't fold, although we got to say the C-bet looks pretty strong into a 4-way pot.
Yeah.
A lot of amateurs are not going to C-bet with air there. They assume, somebody has a hand.
Yeah.
You do have a backdoor straight. If you had a backdoor straight and a backdoor flush, then I like sticking around in the hand a lot more. I guess just call, and you're pretty much shutting it down on the turn. Or the click back maybe is not a horrible idea, especially if you know you're not calling a. Yeah, I don't know, Steve. You're the live reads kind of guy. What was your live read? This guy, do you think this guy was ahead at this point?
I thought that he could have, maybe something like Ace King, Ace Queen, maybe the backdoor flush draw, maybe 2 overs, and then Jacks plus. I also thought he could be betting something like pocket 9s. My read was he liked his hand, and he liked the flop. Maybe even like Ace 10, King 10, something like that. That was kind of my feeling. I don't know if his bet sizing, just the way he looked, the way he kind of thought about his chips. I don't know what it was. But then the other part of me was like, am I really going to fold like top pair here against 1 bet when I have position for the rest of the hand? That was kind of my follow-up. So
yeah, well, if that's an option you're considering, and I think it's worth considering, if I'll fold here and not be terrible, then it's like, okay, why did I take a flop in the first place?
Yeah.
So yeah, Jack 10 off. I mean, yeah, I guess we could talk about range, building ranges for this kind of tournament at this kind of stack depth and all that. Go into detail, but yeah, I don't know if you wanted to take a step back and describe who's the general villain is in these tournaments, but there's probably a great merit to just saving those chips when you have a real good hand. Because
there kind of is, yeah. I mean, there was one lady that I was playing with, not in this tournament, but it was later on that day or the next day. I felt really bad for her. Like, at first I wasn't sure if she knew the rules of the game. And I'm not kidding, because she called down when she couldn't beat the board. And then another time she called down with like queen high. And it was like, but then another time she got all in with me and she had a set of 8s. I got lucky and I hit my ace on the river. I had pocket aces and I got all in with her on the flop. And she had a set of 8s, and then I got lucky and I hit an ace on the river to win the pot. But yeah, there's people in these tournaments that have absolutely no idea of stack sizes, no idea how to play. And like in that lady's case, I don't even think she knew the rules. So there's just a huge variety of, and there's also players that are fairly good. I mean, like they would be, winning players at like $10, $20, $30 tournaments online.
Well, you said this was a $200 buy-in, so I mean, there shouldn't be that many dreadful players there, really. But maybe I don't know.
I mean, some of them are pretty. Well, this tournament was. I think this one was a $60 buy-in.
Oh, it was Brian was playing the $200 tournament.
Brian was playing the 230. Yeah.
Yeah. But on the other hand, if I can contradict myself, I'm saying, well, we should fold Jack 10 and save our chips for when we have a hand. But these tournaments move really fast.
They move quick.
So
it's about every 10 hands the level goes up.
Yeah, so I mean that could be perilous, obviously. So I don't know. Yeah, hopefully, just like most of the players there are going to be imbalanced. There's going to be some that just fold too much and some that just call too much and know the difference. And the more I think about it, I like Jack 10 suited, either calling or raising, and Jack 10 off with none of your chips in there. Brianni, probably just a fold. But,
probably just fold. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Okay.
So did you decide to fold?
No, on the flop I called, and then the button folded. So we go to the turn. There's 2,100 in the pot. The flop was 10-7-3, 3 of hearts, and the turn is the Queen of Hearts, and we have Jack 10 off with the 10 of Hearts. So we have one blocker to the heart draw. So the board now is Queen of Hearts, 10-7, 3 of Hearts. And villain checks. 2,100 in the pot. What are you thinking here? We both effectively have like 4K behind.
Right.
And 21 in the pot.
I'd probably be checking behind. I mean, you're not worried about a draw getting there. You're not really, if he's behind, he probably only has like 2 outs a lot of the times. So you're not that worried about getting drawn out on. So if you bet and he calls, I think you beat a lot of the time. I think you'd be betting his hand. You're never getting the fold wars. I guess if he's a total spineless nit, he could have jacks there, but it's very unlikely you got the blocker too. I kind of like, I don't know, my first instinct was check, and then if you got just hoping to get one street of value on the river, small bet to value if he checks to you again. Again, what's the live read? Is there any reason to believe that he might be trapping you, or do you think he's just?
Well, tell me what you think of this. When the Queen of Hearts came out, he took the chip off of his cards and he looked at both of his cards, and he looked at them for a while, and then he looked again at the board. And then he looked back down at his cards, and then he put his cards down, put the chip on it, and then checked. So what's that tell you?
Nothing.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Different people might have the same, just as you describe it. I can't really, determine. If anything, looking at his cards, I'm almost tempted to say the way he does it, kind of an exaggerated, like, I don't know if exaggerate's the right word, but being very deliberative there. It's almost, I think if he has a weak hand, he's just kind of standing still and checking. But the more there is with moving chips around or cards around, like, oh, geez, do I like this hand? Let me take a second look. Makes me think he still thinks he's good, whether he's trapping or pot controlling kind of thing. I'm not sure. But.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I took it to mean that he didn't like his hand. Like, let me take a look at my cards and look at how good they are. And maybe I'm going way too into this for a $60 tournament, but I took it to mean like he didn't like his hand and he didn't want me to bet. So I bet $11.50 into a 21, and then he clicks it back. He makes it 22 or 23.
I think you got to fold.
Yeah, me too. I like your move about checking the turn. Right after I bet, I was going on my live read, and I was going that him looking at his cards meant that he didn't like his hand. And I think I was wrong in that assessment when he check raised me.
I would say just the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So you found that when people are a little bit too moving chips around and moving cards around and stuff, they're more likely to have something that they want to go with.
Yeah, maybe, or just that's their way of like feigning weakness. There's someone trying to put a reverse tell on you.
Okay.
Just like sitting there rimrod straight, and they see like the turn they don't want to see, and then checking is like trying to look cool, like, okay, I'm fine with that card.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, normally if someone's just incapable, is not even going to that second level or trying to think what people are thinking while they're looking at them, then yeah, fidgeting around, looking at his cards, and like just deciding to check is a sign of weakness. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my first instinct there. But like I said, I didn't see the player, so he might have a better job of looking weak but being strong.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. I should have checked the turn. All right. Well, I got one more. If you're up for it.
Surely.
Okay. Let's see. I started the hand. Okay. Blind levels are 200, 400 with a 50 ante.
Okay.
We're 10-handed. Let me start off by saying I think I played this hand as bad as I possibly could have, right from the get-go, right out of the chute. So, that being said, blinds are 200, 400 with a 50 ante. And Under the Gun opens for 2,000, and his total chip stack size is 5,700. So he's got he opens for 5 bigs UTG, and he's only got another 3,700 behind. I've only seen him open one other hand. He opened to 3x. He opened to 1,200. A guy 3-bet him to 3,000. This was also when he was under the gun. He opened 3x. He opened 1,200. A guy 3-bet him to 3,000. It folded back around to him, and then he quickly folded. So this time he's under the gun, and he's got a shorter stack, and he opens to 2,000. And then it comes back to us. We're in middle position, and we have pocket nines.
How many chips do you have?
I've got 12K, 30 bigs. He's got, 12, 13 bigs, something like that.
Obviously, if he's in middle position and you're on small blind, it's a very easy decision to shove.
Yeah.
Back to his early position and making some goofy ass raise. I still think pocket nines are probably tall here.
Okay, that's what I figured. I figured it was a call. So I call the 2,000.
I was going to say it's raise or fold, but I mean, if it's a real flatty table, that's what. I mean, I want to know what the stack size is and what kind of players you have behind you.
Well, behind me, they've got me covered. One guy has like 15,000. Another guy has 18. I know they have more than me. I'm kind of fibbing on those amounts. I just know that they've got me covered. They have more than 12,000, which is what I've got. And then there's another guy with in the small blind who has like he's got like, what would that be? Like 6 big blinds, I think, maybe 7.
Yeah, I mean, you can't 3-bet fold any of the stacks behind you because of this guy's raise size, right?
Yeah.
I don't like the flat too much, depending on how the other guys go, because then you could end up 4-way of the flop, and pretty much just every flop you're going to hate. So I'm thinking shove, but I guess it just flat and then I guess fold if someone else raises. But I mean, as always, it's like table dependent. Who the villains are and stack sizes at the table and all of that matters. But did you say it was this guy? How active this guy was opening?
He came in late to the tournament. So he came in about 45, 50 minutes late, just before the first hour. So he came in before the first hour was up. So he bought in late. He raised one time to 3x, and then he folded to a 3-bet. He was under the gun. He raised to 3x. A guy 3-bet him, and then he folded. And that's the only hand he played.
So you flatted?
I flatted, yeah. Now here's the here's kind of a kicker. Is when he raised under the gun, it folded so fast around to me. I thought everyone in front of me had folded, but what actually happened was I called the 2,000, and then the dealer pointed out. He said, "Oh, the guy to your right hasn't made a decision yet." And then I looked down, and he had his hands. He kind of had his arm over his cards and his arms over his chips, covering all of it up. So I saw all these cards fly in behind me, and then I thought the decision was on me. I took about 5 or 10 seconds, and then I finally decided that, well, if I call here and then one of these other bigger stacks shoves behind me, and then the guy under the gun instantly goes all in, I can kind of read the situation, and I can have a chip stack of 10,000 instead of 12, and I can get away from my nines without going broke here. It was a probably 5 or 10 second decision that took that long for me to call. And then I realized after I called that the guy to my right, he hasn't made a decision yet. So I got to pull my 2,000 back, and now he's got the information of me calling, before he's acted. So
right.
he takes about 10 seconds after that happened, and then he just calls. So he calls the 2,000. Now it's back on me, and there's kind of that social situation where, like, is it okay if I fold now that everyone's already seen me call, but I have this extra information that the guy to my right now has just called? And there was kind of that awkward spot there, and I thought, well, he's got just as many chips as I do. Maybe I can set mine here, And so then I call after him, and I don't know. Would you have done the same thing there? Would you have called after the guy to your right calls? Are you more likely to call then, or are you going to shove now? Or are you going to fold, or what are you thinking?
I still think shoving's the play.
Okay.
Pocket nines is such a good hand. I mean, you're definitely, I don't like set mining, and now you're talking 3 players in the pot, plus maybe 1 or 2 more behind you. You just, you could hit your set, but you've turned a very strong hand and possibly into just a set mine with not really set mining odds. I mean, at this point, there's a lot of chips in there. There's 2,000, 2,600 plus the end. I mean, this is a 50% bump to your stack almost if you shove and they fold.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's kind of it. But I don't know. You said it was a 5x opening, right? It's 200, 400. This guy opened a 2K.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little bit maybe like Brian's bet. The fact that he's betting big, it's not like he's trying to steal. He's got a big hand, so he's A, raising because he's excited, and B, he's also like nervous, so I don't want this hand to lose.
Yeah.
So if you folded, it wouldn't be awful. I think you've chose the worst choice here by far.
By calling.
Yeah, I think it's a shove, or a raise, or a 3-bet, call it off, or a fold.
Okay.
I don't like to call it off. Yeah.
Okay.
Personally. If you were deeper, 40 bigs plus, then that's fine. To a 5x open, starting the hand with 30 bigs, no, I don't like it personally.
Okay.
It might. I mean, it might very well be the right play. I don't know, but that's just my first instinct that this is a shove or fold.
Yeah, I agree. It felt like such an awkward spot, and at every point I felt like I don't know what to do, and this is going to be a hand for the podcast. After looking back, I like what you're saying. I think it's just a fold. I think just dump it. The guy, for whatever reason, didn't feel like he felt like shoving was too much. And looking back, he probably had something like Ace King, maybe Ace Queen suited. I don't know, but whatever. I call. Then the small blind calls, who only has 2,700, so he leaves himself 700 behind. He calls, and the big blind folds. So we go to the flop. There's now 8,900 in the pot. And the flop is the Jack of Hearts, 8 of Spades, 6 of Spades. And we have the 9 of Spades, 9 of Diamonds. The small blind bets 700. So he goes all in for his last 700. UTG calls 700. Middle position, the guy to my right, calls 700. And then it's on us. So there's 11K in the pot, and it's 700 to call.
I don't know. I mean, you could try the cheap steal. Make it like, if this is the kind of table where they're just oblivious to the size of the pot, you make it 2,200. I mean, you're making it 2,200 steal. 9,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it only has to work 15% of the time, whatever the hell it is. And if it doesn't work, then I guess you can. Then you fold and you keep your 8,000. You keep your 20 big blinds. So I like maybe sneaking a little shady ass raise here and see if you can knock the other players out.
Okay. Get heads up with the short stack.
And just hope that he has crap. I mean, he should be going in with anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's the first thing, the best idea I had to pull yourself out of this goddamn mess with.
That I've gotten myself in. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, having butchered the flop, or having butchered the pre-flop, and I got to continue with this trend, so I just call the 700, and now I'm pretty much hoping for a 9, which I don't even know would be that great, because then it kind of completes some draws and stuff. But anyhow, I call the 700, getting 15 to 1 or whatever the hell it is. And the turn is the 5 of Spades. So the board now is Jack of Hearts, 8 of Spades, 6 of Spades, 5 of Spades. Total pot is 11,700. UTG goes all in for his last 3,000. Middle position calls 3,000. And now it's on us. So there's 17,700, and it's 3,000 for us to call.
Yeah, I think now it's an easy fold. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know this table. How do people play at these stakes? They both can have a big spade or whatever, but I think you're drawing near dead more often than not.
Okay.
Somebody's got an overpair, and somebody's got a jack. I mean, you're drawing two outs, and with 2 of them in the pot, that increases the chance that one of them has the jack.
Okay.
I mean, although it is strange that neither of them would do this on the flop. I don't know what it means.
Like, what does the 5 change? Okay, there's one more spade out there. But that shouldn't really change anyone's hand, right?
The only thing I can think of is the fact that they both just flatted the flop. Makes me think that one of them might have an absolute monster, not wanting to raise, even on a semi-coordinated board, wanting to keep the action going. But now it's like, okay, now board's getting ugly. Let's just shove it in.
See, my thing is UTG shoved his last 3,000. Well, there's 11K in the pot. There's almost 12K in the pot. So he's only shoving a quarter of the pot here. And then middle position just calls. So what would he call there with that he really likes? Like if he's got something like queens here, wouldn't he just want to put it all in so that, I can't draw with my spade?
I mean, it's possible he just has one pair. He's got ace X with, or whatever, king X, one pair with a spade. But you say the guy only has 3,000 left. But that's the rest of his stack too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, depending on the psychology of the player, he might only be putting those chips in. It has nothing to do with pot odds. These have to go in. I've got the best hands.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this is an easy fold, actually, as described, but I don't know. I mean, if somehow you show up with the best hand here, I'm not going to be totally surprised, but I would be pretty surprised. I think you got to fold and just hang on to those chips.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I give it a call, and I justify it by a 7 will give me a straight, and a spade could give me the best hand. I thought that someone with a higher spade would have raised some point along on either the flop or the turn. But yeah, that was my reasoning. The river is the 2 of hearts. So the final board is Jack of hearts, 8 of spades, 6 of spades, 5 of spades, 2 of hearts. So I guess if somebody, for whatever reason, had 9-7, they're good. 7-4, that's not going to happen. Anyways, middle position checks, and then it's on us. Are we ever betting this, or are we checking behind, or?
Checking behind, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I check behind. What do you think they had? Small blind could have anything. UTG.
I don't know. The UTG's got pocket deuces, and middle position has ace 8. I'm trying to think of a scenario where you're good here. I just think you're only going to have the best hand here 1 out of 20 times at the best, at the most, and I'll be curious if this is one of those times.
No, it's not. I don't know what UTG had, but he couldn't beat pocket 9s, and he also could not beat pocket 10s, which is what middle position had. So that kind of got me thinking. I'm like, okay, he must have had ace king or ace queen, UTG. Small blind, he didn't have anything that beat either one of our hands. And now I'm wondering if maybe I missed a bet somewhere, or if it's just if I'm really analyzing this way too hard, and it's just a fold pre-flop. And
yeah, well, I'm curious if the pocket 10s would have folded if you shoved.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's
pre-flop when the UTG goes 2,000, then I call, and then I realize he didn't act yet, so I pull mine back. Then he calls. Then at that point, I shove. Does he call then? I don't know.
I really, if I want to go back to if I may applaud my own delicate genius,
Mm-hmm.
I like my idea on the flop. I think maybe you take that down with the min raise, ridiculously cheap, even the shady $2,300 that you're telling the pocket 10s you're going to play for it on the turn. He does not have top pair.
Yeah.
UTG guy would have folded. So I think that was the move. And then, I mean, as it turns out, the turn is just a fold. I mean, that's just the easiest move of all time.
Yeah.
When it's 3,000 and a call, I think it's an easy fold. I think the flop, they both gave away the strength of their hand with those small bets, and that was your chance to take it away. But playing it with caution on the flop, I mean on the pre-flop, I guess you were right. Like for me, I'd be like, okay, pocket 9s, rip it in there. But it probably 30 bigs is a little too much to shove in there, especially at a table where you have such a skill advantage. But in that case, it's a fold, especially against the 5x open and the flat. And so let's see. Pre-flop, we give you an F. Flop, we give you an F.
Yes.
Turn, F plus.
Yes.
I'm sorry, F minus. And river, Steve, I give you an A plus for the check back. Very nice.
Right on. Cool. Well, that averages out to about a D plus, C minus, I think, something like that.
No.
The A plus offsets quite a bit.
But that is an interesting. It will be actually, for some of these people who play these low tournaments, though, that it is interesting, these stack sizes and these sort of hands, what you do. Yeah, that's a weird hand to get with like I said, with 18 bigs, pocket nines, you're ripping it in every time.
Yes, every time.
40 bigs, you're flatting.
Yep.
And
25 to 30, I don't know.
this is what people always say, that's the toughest stack to play, like the 30 to 40 bigs. Like I said, once it gets down to 20 bigs, it's all pretty straightforward math. I mean, there's tough spots. I mean, just listening to this show where we discuss them all the time, but there's always kind of answers where you're going to be in the realm of truth. And here, I just don't like the flat for sure. I think that's the worst choice. But and I think there was a golden opportunity there to steal that pot on the maybe you would have had to go more than, I don't know what the bet sizing would be to get the guy with the pocket tens to fold, but it certainly looks,
maybe even shoving. Of course, then you're kind of turning your hand into, well, you are turning pocket nines into a bluff.
I don't know. I think just the way it's played, you don't have to
shove, huh?
You don't have to put that many chips in to steal that pot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, again, you could have just, especially if you're going to call 3,000 on the turn.
Yeah.
Why not make it 3,700 there? I mean, of course, this is all looking back, but
yeah. Okay.
Anyway, Stevie.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I agree. That was poorly played. Poorly played.
Steve, take out your pencil, your pen, your notebook, or go search in the archives for all your old stories, because we're going to start getting into that.
All right.
David D'Angelo, style, mystery.
Mystery, yes.
We're getting back. We're I don't care. It just needs to be done, Steve. I'm sorry.
Okay.
For the people. This is
Yes.
Barton. It'll be over soon. Don't worry. We'll be back to poker.
Don't tune into episode 57.
We will go back to boring people rather than titillating them, which is what our gift is for. But
right on. Well, if you guys want to get better at poker tournaments than I am, join TPE. You can click on the link in the show notes. Mike and I are on there. They constantly got good videos up. Oh, one of the latest videos up that's really good right now is Mark Aliotto and Doug Lyford. Dougie Fresh is Mark's doing a hand history review of Doug's. And,
I can do without those two.
You can do without those two? They've both been on the show.
Mark's hand history is always, really good.
It is.
And his is just like, I think a lot of the coaches there are really good, but they could do the same hand history review. And I don't know, it'd be hard. Like Mark is just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It's like rock and roll teacher there. You know what I mean? You're just, it's flying at you fast, but it's also like well explained, and easy to process.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I actually, me and Doug reviewed that tournament a few weeks ago. So it's kind of funny.
Oh, cool.
I've
went over that same exact tournament.
Now hearing Mark's perspective on it. So it's kind of interesting for that reason.
It is neat when I play on ACR and I'm playing with Alex Fitzgerald or Carlos or Doug, and it's like, it's pretty cool because we all kind of know. I mean, I don't know Alex's game very well, but, talking with Carlos and Doug on the podcast, there gets to be these next levels. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, we had this 30-minute discussion on like 3-betting hands, and right now Carlos is 3-betting me. What does this mean? Because I know we're both thinking about that conversation that we had a month ago on the podcast, and now we're in this exact same situation, and he's doing it to me. So is he leveling me? Or is he really doing it with those same exact hands that we talked about? There's that different dynamic, It's a lot of fun.
First of all, with Carlos, there's no need to level. You paddle and pummel. That's all you need to know.
That's it. But, Yeah, it's definitely fun. It was cool seeing his review up there on TPE.
Okay,
but,
man.
Anyways, I should probably wrap it up here. It's 10:30 at night. I got a tournament tomorrow, and we haven't woken up Jonah, have we?
No, amazingly no.
Okay, good. Right
and I will talk to you soon. Everyone have a Happy New Year.
All right, brother. Okay, hope you guys had a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
He who would succeed today must not only be brave, but must also dare to take chances. He who waits for certainty never wins.
80% of success in anything is your psychology, and 20% is the mechanics. So those inner conflicts are when you take 2 steps forward and you pull 3 steps back.
When you're alone with your thoughts, you get an idea of what your thoughts actually are. If you live your life just acting constantly on the momentum of other people's expectations, of you wanting to be liked by these other people, you can run into a trap, and you set up a life that you didn't really want. Your life is certainly some sort of a journey. It's certainly some sort of a journey. And we have to all be aware that when we're making journeys, we're not going to always make the right steps. And sometimes you have to back up and try again and calculate your future. And then also look around all the people that didn't do it and look at the misery that they're in and learn that you don't want to be like them. And then look at the people that have kind of taken chances and navigated their way. What did they do differently? What objectivity do they have that maybe you lack? What insight into their own mistakes are they willing to delve into that you're not, that you step back and go, I just don't want to look at myself that closely. But the person who's able to look at themselves the closest is going to get the more rational results.